Good afternoon, my Real News Media TV family. Welcome back to the channel for another news update for March 5, 2024. And in the news this afternoon, police are probing suspected suicide of American visitor in St. Ann. The police are probing the circumstances which led to the death of an American visitor in St. Ann on Sunday. He has been identified as 21-year-old Jacob Grant, a manager of West Palm Beach, Florida. Investigators are probing a case of suspected suicide after Grant's body was found hanging from a piece of rope by his brother on a property in Draxhall, St. Ann, about 6 p.m. Sunday. A note was also found. A post-mortem examination is to be performed to determine the cause of death. JCSA threatens to shut down government services. The Jamaica Civil Service Association is warning that its more than 30,000 members are prepared to shut down the government service if the Ministry of Finance continues to delay settling outstanding salary-related issues. The 11 unions under the umbrella of the Jamaica Confederation of Trade Unions wrote to the Minister of Finance last Friday, demanding a meeting to discuss the outstanding items within the next 10 days. JCSA President Tesha Clark Griffiths, who is a member of the Confederation, told the news that the civil servants are displeased with the long delay in settling the issues surrounding their benefits. Accordingly, she said all the members of the association are restive and ready. Among the outstanding matters still to be addressed, she said, are reinstatement of passenger mileage, retroactive mileage payments, payments of increments, clarification for subsistence, overtime policy, uniform policy, passenger mileage, etc.
All my members of the Jamaica Civil Service Association is restive and ready because the Ministry of Finance is taking long. We've indicated the reinstatement of passenger mileage still outstanding, retroactive mileage payment still outstanding, payment of increments, clarification for subsistence, overtime policy, uniform policy, passenger mileage. All of those things are outstanding. And we have been having conversations from last year. We have agreed in principle on some of those, and we are at us with the increment payment, and everything is being withheld as a package deal. No, we can't take it no more. They have received their payments. We are asking for ours, and we're asking for equity and fairness. And our members are restive. That much I can say. There is going to be problems. There is going to be problems. Our members have indicated to me as president that they are not willing to wait any longer. So we are waiting on the ministry, giving them adequate time in. We should have had these meetings from January. We have been clamoring for a date, and they are very unresponsive. Ministry of Finance, unresponsive. So we are ready when the ministry is ready.
In response to the JCSA's ultimatum, Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clark said the threat of a disruption in the public service was unnecessary, given the extent of progress made during discussions between his ministry and the Jamaica Confederation of Trade Unions. The JCSA is a member of the Confederation. Dr. Clark, speaking with the news on Sunday evening, said the government and the JCTU have been in discussions on matters relating to conditions of employment and the benefits, and according to him, the Confederation is to respond to the ministry on an updated proposal from the last meeting.
In June 2023, we met with the Confederation and provided a set of proposals on these matters, and they wrote back in response 5 months later in November 2023. We promptly met with them in December 2023 and came to an agreement on 8 of 9 items in their written response. Only one item remained. During our meeting, we provided an updated proposal on that item, which they were to consider and get back. Given this progress in discussions, a disruption or even a threat of disruption would be an unnecessary escalation that the public must see in the context of a competition for resources. On one hand, we have approximately 3 million people who are crying for improvements in roads, water, garbage, public transportation, sewage, and other public services, which can only be addressed by an increase in allocation to capital expenditure that funds public investments. Yet, twice in this fiscal year, we had to reduce capital expenditure to accommodate wage demands. I can't be any more transparent on this, and I hope all Jamaicans hear me that if this continues, the country will go backwards very quickly. While I understand how some public employees may feel, I appeal for patience and understanding. We are making a tremendous effort that is evident in the sheer size of the increase in allocation to public sector compensation.
Court rules a 15 years imprisonment not excessive or unreasonable in armed robbery offense. The Court of Appeal has ruled that because of the prevalence of gun crimes in Jamaica, 15 years imprisonment at hard labor imposed on the getaway driver in a robbery was not manifestly excessive or unreasonable. Appellant 44-year-old Jermaine Milford was convicted in 2016 and is sentenced to 15 years imprisonment each for illegal possession of firearm and robbery with aggravation, and 5 years for illegal possession of ammunition. The sentences were to run concurrently. He will now serve 14 years imprisonment as the court granted him a 1-year reduction in sentence for a breach of his constitutional right because he did not receive the transcript of his trial within a reasonable time. Milford gave verbal notice of appeal in November 2016, but the transcript of his trial was not available until March 19, 2021. The court ruled in January that application for leave to appeal against the convictions were refused. The sentences will run concurrently from October 26, 2016, when they were imposed. Milford's convictions stemmed from a robbery incident on March 15, 2013. On that day, a businessman went to a bank in St. Andrew and withdrew $650,000, which he placed in a bag. Upon leaving the bank and going towards the car park, he felt a pull on his bag. He turned around and was confronted by a man who pointed a gun at him. The gunman relieved the businessman of the bag and then ran into a motor vehicle in which Milford was the driver. Police officers in a marked service vehicle gave chase and the vehicle eventually stopped. Milford ran and was chased and held by the police. The motor vehicle was searched and the firearm and the complainant's bag with the money were found in the glove compartment. The Crown's case was premised on the allegation that Milford was the getaway driver and was in a joint enterprise to execute the robbery. He said in his unsworn statement at his trial that he was the getaway driver under duress. He said he had parked his car and was waiting for his girlfriend when the gunman entered. He was forced to drive away with the gunman, and in fear for his life he obeyed. The gunman, who was held by the police as he exited the motor vehicle, pleaded guilty to all the offenses. The gunman was called as a witness for the defense, and he supported Milford's assertions that he acted under duress. In handing down its written reasons last month, the court comprising Justice Paulette Williams, Justice Evan Brown, and Justice Georgiana Fraser took note of the aggravating features that the judge had identified in passing sentence, such as the serious nature of the offense, the use of weapon to facilitate the robbery, and the prevalence of the offense in the society. The court, in reference to other aggravating factors, pointed out that there was the use of violence, the offense was premeditated, the appellant was operating in a group, the maturity of the appellant, and the motivation of greed. The appellant's mother had stated in the social inquiry report that he was not a person in need, was raised in a supportive and loving environment, and described as industrious. Owing to the significant number of aggravating factors identified in the factual circumstances of this case, we deemed it appropriate to move the calculation upwards by the addition of 10 years. This would result in new figures of 22 years in respect of both the offenses, the court ruled. The court agreed with the trial judge that the appellant's previous good character and the positive social inquiry report and his capacity to reform were mitigating factors. The court said it therefore reduced its evaluated sentences for both offenses to 18 years. After affording the appellant the 2 years and 4 months and the 14 days spent on pretrial remand, the court said its final calculation was a sentence of 15 years, 7 months and 14 days at hard labor for the offenses. For the reasons we have sought to explain, there was no basis on which it could have been successfully argued that the sentences of 15 years imprisonment each were manifestly excessive or unreasonable, the court ruled. Milford, who was represented by attorneys at law Keith Bishop and Janoy Pinnock, instructed by Bishop and the partners, had also argued that it was unclear how the trial judge arrived at a starting of 20 years for illegal possession of firearm and the starting point of 15 years for the offense of robbery with aggravation. Senior Deputy Director of Public Prosecutions, Kathy Ann Pike, and the Crown Counsel, Cindy K. Graham, conceded that the judge had erred in respect to the methodology utilized, but had given a reason for selecting a starting point of 20 years. We therefore agreed with the counsel that it is unclear how the learned judge arrived at the 20 years, and would add that if indeed 20 years was supposed to represent her selected starting point, this should have been clearly indicated as such, the court said.